They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But for me, the fallout followed me home and hit like a freight train. Lauren and I had been married for 9 years, and I thought we were solid, a true partnership. When she brought up the idea of a girl's trip to Vegas with her friends, I didn't give it a second thought. Lauren had always valued her independence, and I'd never had a reason to doubt her. Besides, I figured she could use the break. Work had been draining for her, and life in general felt like a constant race. If I'm honest, I even felt a twinge of guilt for not planning a getaway for the two of us instead. So, I told her to enjoy herself, hugged her goodbye, and wished her a great trip. She kissed me on her way out the door, and just like that, she was off. The first couple of days while she was away were pretty uneventful. She'd send me texts here and there, snapshots of colorful cocktails, group selfies with her friends, and the iconic glow of Vegas neon. It all seemed harmless enough, just the usual updates you'd expect, and I didn't think much of it. But on the third night, her messages suddenly stopped. It wasn't unusual for Lauren to get caught up in the moment, especially when she was out having a good time, so at first, I brushed it off. But when I tried calling her later that evening, the phone rang without an answer. I tried again an hour later and still nothing. By the time midnight rolled around, I was pacing the living room with my phone in hand, nerves tightening with every step. My mind ran through the possibilities. Maybe her phone was lost, or the battery had died. Logical explanations, sure, but deep down, a gnawing sense of unease started to take root. The next morning, I woke up to a single text from her. "Sorry, Ryan. I fell asleep early. Love you. Can't wait to see you when I get back." I stared at it for what felt like forever. There was something off about the message. Felt rushed, almost like she was trying to sweep something under the rug. I couldn't put my finger on it, but the feeling wouldn't let go of me. Still, by the time Lauren returned from her trip, I had talked myself into believing I was just overthinking everything. When I met her at the door, I pulled her into a warm hug and helped her with her bags. She seemed upbeat, glowing even, and I chalked it up to her having had a great time. Over dinner, I asked her how the trip went. "Oh, you know," she said casually, her tone light as air. "We hit some casinos, caught a few shows. You would have loved it. It was exactly what I needed to recharge." Her answers felt vague, but I decided not to push. The last thing I wanted was to come across as the clingy, insecure husband grilling his wife. But a few days later, cracks started to appear. Lauren had left her laptop open on the kitchen counter, and a notification from a Vegas hotel caught my eye. The subject line read, "Thank you for your stay. Exclusive photos available." Curiosity got the better of me, so I clicked on it. The email was a promo from the hotel's nightclub, showcasing candid photos that guests could purchase. As I scrolled through the gallery, my stomach twisted into knots. And then there it was, Lauren. She wasn't just standing around innocently, either. She was wrapped up in the arms of another man, laughing, her face tilted toward his in a way that made my blood boil. The timestamp on the photo confirmed it was from the night she'd supposedly gone to bed early. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I decided to bide my time and piece together the rest of the puzzle. Later that day, while Lauren was in the shower, she left her phone on the nightstand. My heart raced as I picked it up, bracing myself to find nothing, or worse, something I didn't want to see. Within seconds, I hit pay dirt. There was a string of messages with someone named Aaron. They were flirty, filled with winking emojis and inside jokes that made my blood run cold. "That night with you was unforgettable. When can we make it happen again?" Aaron had written. "Let's not talk about this here. I'll call you later," Lauren had replied. My hands shook as I scrolled further, dreading what else I might uncover. Felt like opening Pandora's box. What I found next made me wish I hadn't looked at all. Mixed in with their messages were photos, intimate, explicit photos of Lauren with Aaron. One of them showed her posing in a hotel room mirror, wearing lingerie I'd never seen before. In the background, Aaron was lounging on the bed. Then came the videos. In one of the videos, Lauren's laughter rang out behind the camera as she filmed a table scattered with champagne glasses and rose petals. Moments later, Aaron's arm reached out, pulling her into view for a quick, heated kiss. Her carefree giggle, her light-hearted demeanor. It was like a dagger twisting in my chest. But the next set of videos obliterated any lingering hope I had left. These weren't just innocent flirtations or playful moments. They were raw, deeply personal, and undeniably intimate. The kind of moments I thought were sacred, meant only for us, were now captured on video for them to replay at their leisure. My stomach churned as I watched the screen display images I never thought I'd see. Lauren and Aaron together in ways that shattered everything I thought I knew about her. There was no ambiguity, no room for doubt. These weren't fleeting mistakes or regrettable lapses in judgment. They were deliberate, recorded acts of betrayal, as if their infidelity deserved to be preserved. The air seemed to leave the room as my chest tightened. My hand gripped her phone so tightly my knuckles went white, and my vision blurred with tears I fought to keep at bay. This was more than betrayal, it was a complete desecration of everything I had believed we shared. My mind swirled in a storm of fury and heartbreak, leaving me struggling to breathe. I closed my eyes and forced myself to focus, to calm the hurricane raging inside me. For a moment, I considered barging into the bathroom, confronting her, and demanding an explanation. But what would that accomplish? She'd cry, apologize, beg for forgiveness, and twist the situation until somehow I was the villain for invading her privacy. No, that wouldn't do. Not this time. Then, the idea hit me like a lightning bolt, born from a mix of heartbreak and unrelenting rage. Confronting her in private wasn't justice. It wouldn't come close to the humiliation and pain she had inflicted on me. She needed to feel the full weight of what she had done, to see her lies and betrayal exposed for all to witness. I opened her phone again, quickly forwarding the damning photos and videos to mine. Once I confirmed they were safely stored, I erased the entire thread from her messages, leaving no trace of what I had discovered. The evidence was mine now. As I set the phone back on the nightstand, my heart thundered in my chest. The sound of water still running in the shower meant I had time. I splashed my face with cold water, practiced a neutral expression in the mirror, and took a deep breath to steady myself. When Lauren finally stepped out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel and humming a tune, I greeted her with a smile so calm it felt disturbingly natural. "Hey," I said casually, as if nothing had happened. "I've been thinking, my birthday is in a few days, and it's been years since we did a proper party. How about we invite everyone over? Both our families, a few friends. We could do a barbecue in the backyard. Something simple but fun." Her face lit up with excitement, and she clapped her hands together, the towel slipping slightly. "Oh, I love that idea. It's been so long since we've had a real gathering. Your birthday deserves a big celebration." I nodded, forcing a smile that felt heavier than ever. "Exactly. Good food, plenty of drinks, and lots of laughter. A day to remember." She leaned in to kiss my cheek. "I'll help with everything. It's going to be perfect." "Perfect?" I repeated, the weight of my plan pressing hard on my chest. The days leading up to the party were excruciating. Every time I looked at Lauren, a sickening churn twisted in my stomach. My mind replayed the images and videos like a broken record, each one carving deeper into my heart. But outwardly, I stayed composed, playing the part of the loving husband she thought I still was. When she asked for help picking out food for the barbecue, I smiled and agreed. When she made jokes, I laughed like nothing was wrong. I played my role flawlessly. I even kissed her on the forehead like I used to, though it took every ounce of my willpower to get through it without flinching. She had no clue what was in store for her. The day of the party arrived, and the weather couldn't have been more ideal. The sun was shining brightly, a gentle breeze rustling through the trees, setting the perfect stage. Lauren was in the kitchen, busily preparing food, while I focused on getting the backyard ready. I arranged the patio furniture, set up the barbecue grill, and, most importantly, double-checked that the large outdoor TV was functioning flawlessly. Our families started arriving early. My parents and siblings greeted Lauren warmly, their smiles and kind words painting her as the perfect wife they still believed her to be. Her parents showed up shortly after, bringing along her younger brother. A handful of friends trickled in too, filling the air with laughter and casual conversation as the scent of grilled meat wafted through the yard. Lauren was glowing, her energy vibrant as she flitted between the guests, handing out drinks and sharing jokes. Her laughter rang out often, and her smile never wavered. Watching her like that made my blood boil. How could she act so carefree, so utterly unburdened, knowing what she had done? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the party reached its peak. Conversations were lively, drinks flowed freely, and the sound of laughter echoed across the yard. That's when I decided it was time. "Everyone," I called out, tapping my glass with a spoon to grab their attention. "If I could have a moment, I'd like to say a few words." The crowd quieted, turning to face me, their faces expectant. Lauren's smile widened as she looked up at me, clearly assuming I was about to deliver a heartfelt birthday toast. "I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight," I began, forcing a warm, genuine-seeming smile. "Family, friends, you've all been such an important part of my life, and I'm grateful to have you here today. And because you mean so much to me, I'd like to share something deeply personal, something that's been on my mind." I noticed Lauren tilt her head slightly, her expression curious but still relaxed. She had no idea what was coming. I walked over to the outdoor TV, holding the remote in my hand. This year, I've done a lot of reflecting on trust, on loyalty, and on love. And I realized, what better way to celebrate my birthday than by sharing a moment of truth? A revelation that changed my life forever. The murmurs started almost immediately, confusion rippling through the crowd. I glanced at Lauren, whose smile was beginning to falter, her brows drawing together as unease crept into her features. "What are you doing, honey?" she asked, her voice tinged with nervous laughter. Ignoring her question, I pressed play on the remote. The first video lit up the screen. The champagne glasses, the rose petals, and Lauren's unmistakable giggle as Aaron's arm wrapped around her and pulled her in for a kiss. Her laughter echoed through the speakers, cutting through the once jovial atmosphere like a blade. The yard went utterly silent. What is this?" Lauren stammered, her voice sharp now, panic flickering across her face. I didn't answer. I hit play on the next video instead. This one erased any lingering doubt. The footage was explicit, leaving nothing to interpretation. Gasps erupted from the crowd, shattering the silence. Lauren's mother brought a trembling hand to her mouth, her eyes wide and brimming with tears. The wine glass in her other hand slipped and crashed onto the patio, the sound ringing out like a warning bell. My father muttered a curse under his breath, while her younger brother stood frozen, his expression caught somewhere between shock and disgust. Lauren lunged toward me, her face contorted in panic. "Stop this! Turn it off!" she screamed, her voice cracking as tears streamed down her cheeks. I stepped back, holding the remote out of her reach. "Why should I? This is your moment to shine, isn't it? You didn't seem to mind recording it. I figured you'd want it remembered." Her face crumpled, and she collapsed onto her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. The guests stood frozen, their faces a mix of shock, disbelief, and awkward discomfort. Some leaned toward each other, whispering in hushed tones, while others simply stared, their expressions speaking volumes. "You betrayed me, Lauren," I said, my voice unervingly calm despite the chaos roaring inside me. "And I thought everyone here deserved to know exactly who you are and what you've done." Her father stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. "Is this real, Lauren? Tell me this isn't real." Lauren couldn't answer. She sat there sobbing, her hands covering her face as though shielding herself from the weight of the stairs. Her mother's complexion had gone pale, and for a moment, I thought she might faint. Turning to the crowd, I spoke again, my tone heavy with bitterness. "For 9 years, I loved her. I trusted her. And this," I said, motioning toward the TV screen frozen on the final damning video, "this is how she repaid me. I thought you all deserved to see the truth, just like I did." The silence was suffocating, the tension hanging over us like a storm cloud. Finally, her brother muttered under his breath, "I can't believe this. He shook his head and walked away, his disgust evident. One by one, the guests started leaving. Some offered quiet apologies to me as they passed, while others glared at Lauren with a mix of pity and contempt. Her father, though, didn't move. He stood rooted in place, his fists clenched at his sides. When he finally spoke, his voice was low but seething with venom. "I can't believe this," he said, his hands trembling. "I didn't raise you to screw around like this, Lauren. I didn't raise you to throw everything away for some man." He paused, taking a shaky breath before continuing, his words cutting like a blade. "Shame on you." Her mother, usually the picture of composure, looked at Lauren with a mixture of devastation and frustration. "How could you do this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Do you have any idea what you've just done? What you've destroyed?" Lauren sobbed harder, her face buried in her hands. I never meant for this to happen," she managed, her voice breaking. Her father cut her off, his tone cold and unforgiving. "Don't give me that. You don't get to act sorry now. After everything we've done for you, after everything he's done for you, how could you betray him like this?" He shook his head, his eyes narrowing. "You've made your bed, Lauren, and frankly, I'm done with you." He turned to her mother, who still looked too stunned to speak, and said bitterly, "I don't even know what to say anymore. She's not the daughter I raised. She's not the woman I thought she was." Her mother could only shake her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what to say either. I never expected this. Never." Lauren's tears were streaming freely now, but they did nothing to thaw the icy atmosphere. Her father cast one last withering glance at her before stepping away. "We're leaving," he said firmly, "and when you finally pull yourself together, maybe you'll understand just how much you've ruined." His words lingered in the air as he and her mother walked away, leaving Lauren sitting there, broken and alone. She collapsed onto the couch, her body racked with sobs, her face a mask of regret. "I'm sorry," she choked out between gasps. "I never meant for this to happen. I made a terrible mistake. Please don't do this." But I didn't waver. My eyes were cold, my resolve unshaken. "Pack your things, Lauren," I said, my voice steady and final. "You're not welcome here anymore. I'm filing for divorce. It's over." Her cries grew louder, more desperate, but I didn't flinch. I'd seen enough. She'd shattered everything we had, and I wasn't about to let her claw her way back with empty apologies. "I know you're sorry," I said flatly, "but sorry doesn't change anything. You destroyed what we had, Lauren. This marriage is over." She crumbled further, her sobs filling the room, but I turned away. She had made her bed, and now she would have to lie in it. The divorce process moved swiftly, the legal documents serving as the final confirmation of what I'd already accepted in my heart. Lauren tried to fight it at first, pleading with me to reconsider, but I refused. The damage was irreparable, and I knew I couldn't live in the ruins of what we'd once shared. First, I kept the house. It felt like the practical thing to do, but as the days stretched into weeks, the walls started to close in on me. Everywhere I turned, I was reminded of Lauren. Every room seemed to hold a ghost of what we once had. Our anniversaries, family gatherings, and all the moments that had made this place feel like home. The memories weren't comforting. They were suffocating. Eventually, I realized I couldn't stay there. It was too much. So I made the decision to sell it. The money from the sale gave me the chance to start fresh. I moved into a small apartment, simple and quiet, a place where I could begin to rebuild my life on my terms. The new space became my sanctuary. I kept the decor minimal, focusing on making it feel like my own. No lingering shadows of the past, just a clean slate. It wasn't easy at first, but each day felt like a small step forward, a victory over the pain that had once consumed me. A few months later, I decided to dip my toes back into dating. I wasn't sure I was ready, but I figured I had to start somewhere. That's when I met her. A woman who made me laugh in ways I hadn't in years. She shared my interests, my values, and, most importantly, she didn't come with any hidden agendas. She wasn't Lauren, and that was exactly what I needed. Little by little, the ache in my chest began to fade. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but it was progress. I started to believe that I could be happy again. As for Lauren, life wasn't so kind to her in the aftermath. She moved out of state, trying to escape the wreckage of her own choices and the shame that followed her. From what I heard through mutual connections, she struggled to rebuild her life. She even tried dating again, but the trust she had shattered in me, in herself, left her with a reputation she couldn't shake. Her parents, still reeling from the betrayal, refused to speak to her for months after the party. Her friends slowly distanced themselves, unwilling to stand by her in the wake of everything. Lauren was left to face the consequences of her actions alone, with no one to blame but herself. For me, though, time eventually did what it always does. It softened the sharp edges of the pain. The wounds didn't vanish entirely, but they healed enough for me to move forward. I learned to look at the past not as something to dwell on, but as a painful, necessary lesson that had shaped me into someone stronger. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long while, I'm excited to find out. I found peace, and with it a renewed sense of hope.